Business intelligence, or BI. You hear it everywhere. Everyone agrees. It's absolutely crucial for making smart decisions in business today.
Right.
But then you immediately hit this wall of jargon, don't you? Data warehouses, data lakes, shadow BI. It gets complicated fast.
It really does.
So our deep dive today is designed for you to really cut through all that complexity. We're going to unpack the core ideas, look at the history, and show how the actual architecture scales up.
Yeah. From like a simple spreadsheet export all the way to these huge global systems.
Exactly.
And I think, to really get it, we first have to admit why it's so tricky to define. The sources we looked at point out that people come at BI from, well, basically 3 different angles.
Okay.
And that often causes friction inside companies. First, there's the pure technical view that just sees BI as, the tools, the software.
Oh, right. So if I just buy the fanciest dashboard tool, problem solved, I've got BI.
Well, that's what that view implies, yeah.
Yeah.
But it completely misses the second angle, the managerial view. This view says BI is actually about how good management is at using the data. Like, if the decision makers aren't skilled or they're asking the wrong questions, no amount of software is going to fix that.
Huh. So you're saying even the best tool is useless if the management using it isn't asking the right things or, reading the charts wrong.
That's the inherent tension, yeah. And then the third view is the enabler view. This one's more holistic. It sees BI as this overall capability that adds value, supporting both the tech and the managers.
Okay, that makes sense. Sort of bringing it all together.
Exactly. So our goal here is to kind of synthesize these views, understand that bigger definition, and see how the underlying tech needs to support it, whether you're tiny or massive.
Okay, let's unpack that bigger, more comprehensive view of BI as a discipline then, because it sounds like it's way more than just running reports.
Oh, absolutely. You should think of business intelligence as the entire operating model for how a company uses data. So first, you need to gather data both on your own processes and what's happening outside.
Right, internal and external.
Second, you have to actually process that data into something useful, into valuable information services. That's the insight part.
Okay.
And third, and this is maybe the most critical bit, it involves managing the whole framework. The guidelines, the tools, the processes, everything needed to make sure data use is consistent, accurate, reliable across the whole company.
So it's the governance that makes the insights trustworthy.
Precisely. It's the whole framework.
Okay, so if BI is the discipline, the framework, what about the actual physical structure holding the data? That gets us to the famous data warehouse, the DWH. How do we separate the structure itself from the work involved?
Yeah, that distinction is really important for clarity. The data warehouse, DWH itself, that's the dedicated data collection.
Yeah.
The repository.
Just the database, essentially.
Right. It exists purely for reporting, decision-making, management support. It pulls data away from the day-to-day operational systems. Now, data warehousing with the ing, that's the process.
The verbs versus the noun.
Exactly. The process of gathering, cleaning, preparing, structuring all that data for the repository.
Got it. And when we talk DWH structure, Ralph Kimball's name always comes up. His ideas were pretty influential, weren't they? How did he simplify how we think about this whole end-to-end thing?
Kimball really helped clarify it. He often bundles DWH BI together to talk about the complete system, end-to-end. But he makes this really key separation. The queryable data, that's the enterprise data warehouse. The clean, consistent source.
A reliable pool of data.
Yes. And then the value-adding analytics, those are the BI applications, the tools that sit on top and actually serve the users. That distinction helps focus on, where data consistency is job one versus where the specific user analysis happens.
Okay, that baseline structure makes sense.
Yeah.
But the speed of how this all evolved, that's kind of mind-blowing. BI feels so modern, like a cloud thing, but it goes way back, right?
Oh, deep roots. Absolutely.
Let's do a quick run-through. It technically started way, way back in 1958. H.P. Loon's paper, Business Intelligence System.
Right. Very conceptual back then, obviously. But the 80s, that's when we saw the push for the actual physical structure. Bill Inman championing the idea of building the data warehouse, that central subject-focused repository we just talked about.
And the 90s brought the big change in how users interacted with it. Kimball again with OLAP. What did OLAP actually let people do that, say, a simple spreadsheet couldn't?
OLP, online analytical processing. It was a total game changer. It let users slice and dice data across multiple dimensions at once.
So like sales, not just by month, but maybe by product and region and sales channel, all interactively.
Exactly. It moved us from static, flat reports to this dynamic, multi-dimensional analysis, which is, totally fundamental to all the BI tools we use today.
Okay, then jump to the 2010s. Things just exploded, didn't they? If the 80s and 90s built the foundations, the 2010s felt like managing an explosion while demanding more speed.
That's a great way to put it. Yeah, the 2010s were really defined by big data coming onto the scene. And the data lake, this new idea for storing raw, unstructured data that the traditional DWH just, choked on.
Right.
We saw cloud DWHs take off, this urgent need for real-time analytics, and a huge push for self-service BI. Users started saying, hey, I need to pull my own insights now.
Which must have created chaos.
It did. And that chaos meant we suddenly had to formalize things like data governance and focus on data literacy across the organization.
And the 2020s now. It feels like it's about making the intelligence even smarter, more automated.
It's about smarter structure and smarter intelligence, yeah. The two big trends right now are the data mesh architecture, which is about treating data like a product owned by domain teams, and this push towards augmented analytics and AI-driven BI. The system itself starts finding the insights.
Okay, wow. So let's connect these big ideas back down to earth. How does the actual BI architecture look different depending on the company's size? Because, a small business isn't building a global data mesh.
Definitely not. For a small enterprise, the architecture is, pretty lightweight. It's almost entirely centered on their main transaction system, usually ERP.
The accounting or operations software.
Right. Their main BI is often just the embedded BI, the basic reports that come built into the ERP system itself. But those are rarely enough, are they?
No, definitely not. Which means the export button becomes the most important BI tool they have.
Sadly, yes. Quite often. They rely heavily on exporting data out. Most commonly, that means people are living in spreadsheets, like Excel, maybe monthly data dumps managed by just one or two power users.
The Excel gurus.
The Excel gurus, exactly. It's cheap, it's familiar, but boy, does it create risk. Data quality can totally depend on one person's complex macros. We are seeing more small companies adopt tools like Power BI now, though, to get a bit more visualization power beyond Excel.
Okay, but scale that up, medium-sized company. That Excel hell, as people call it, just doesn't work anymore, right? Yeah. You've got the ERP, sure, but also maybe a CRM for sales, specific logistics software, maybe external market data.
Yeah, the data landscape gets much more diverse. And the demand for consistent reports across all that means you absolutely need a dedicated data warehouse. You have to integrate it all, harmonize it.
Makes sense.
And then this is where Kimball's split we talked about really comes into play. You set up the back room. That's where all the heavy lifting happens, extraction, transformation, loading, cleansing, making the data consistent.
The engine room, basically. So what needs to happen back there to make sure the front room where the users actually see the data is flexible but also reliable? Because user expectations are much higher now.
Well, the back room's core job is ensuring that consistency. If it does its job right, the front room can focus purely on delivering insights.
Okay.
The front room is where that clean, integrated data gets presented through user tools for standard reports, sure, but also for ad hoc analysis, maybe planning tools. Because the data has been harmonized in the back, users in the front can, hopefully, trust it, no matter which system it originally came from.
Okay. That model handles a medium-sized, maybe single-country company. But now let's go big league, the multinational corporate group. The complexity there isn't just combining different types of data, it's combining different geographies, different business units.
That's exactly right. And the architecture reflects that. It typically becomes pyramidal. It's specifically designed to feed strategic decisions way up at the top.
So levels of detail change as you go up.
Precisely. At the bottom, the base of the pyramid, you've got your local or divisional DWHs. These hold the really granular, detailed operational data for just that region or maybe that product line.
Okay.
Then you need intermediate aggregation layers. These start pulling data together across different regions or business lines. They provide the cross-functional view needed by, say, regional VPs.
And right at the top, the peak of the pyramid.
That's the corporate or global DWH. This one exists pretty much only for the C-suite, for top-level strategic planning. And critically, the granular details. They're deliberately left out.
Really? They don't want the detail?
Not typically at that level. This layer deals in highly aggregated strategic KPIs. The absolute focus is consolidation and standardization, making absolutely sure the CEO in New York and the country manager in Singapore are looking at the exact same definition of profit margin or market share.
Standardization is king at the top.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, things are shifting again, aren't they? We're moving beyond even that pyramid sometimes towards this idea of a two-modal or adaptive BI architecture. Sounds like trying to mix that old school stability with like new school speed.
That's the goal, yeah. Balancing control and speed, it's the core challenge. This adaptive architecture is built on what we call hybrid data platforms. You keep the traditional DWH for your highly structured, governed, harmonized data.
The reliable core.
Right, but you extend it. You add components like the data lake, remember, for the raw, messy, native data, and maybe things like an operational data store, ODS, for near real-time operational reporting that doesn't need full DWH cleansing yet. You need both the structure and the raw flexibility.
But even with a data lake for raw data, analysts often need to experiment or blend in their own stuff faster than central IT can possibly move, right? Which I guess is why data labs or sandboxing environments are becoming so common.
Oh, they're essential for agility now. Data labs are basically these self-service environments, sandboxes. Analysts can pull the pre-production data in, but then mix it with their own spreadsheets, external data feeds, whatever.
Without messing up the official data.
Exactly. They can rapidly test ideas, prototype new machine learning models, explore weird correlations, all without any risk of polluting the pristine enterprise data warehouse. It just massively speeds up innovation.
And that innovation needs speed. The demand for real-time insights just completely breaks the old model of nightly batch updates in the DWH, doesn't it?
Totally. It forces a big shift towards near real-time and event-driven processing. We're using streaming analytics tech now to process data in motion. Think sensor data from machines, website click streams, social media feeds.
Data that's happening right now.
Right now. And you process it as it arrives. This unlocks immediate use cases, things that need instant feedback, like optimizing pricing on a website based on current demand, or detecting potential fraud the second a transaction happens, or even predicting machine failure moments before it occurs through proactive maintenance alerts.
Okay, but this explosion of self-service data labs, mixing data, it inevitably leads to this thing called shadow BI, right? Why does that pop up everywhere, and why is the thinking now shifting towards managing it instead of just trying to stamp it out?
Yeah, shadow BI refers to any analysis happening outside the official IT-governed BI infrastructure. And yeah, it's usually powered by easy-to-use tools like Excel or Power BI or Tableau.
And why does it happen? Just users going rogue?
Not really rogue so much as practical. It emerges because business users often need answers faster than a potentially backlogged central IT team can deliver. Or maybe the central DWH just doesn't have that specific departmental spreadsheet or external data set they need to mix in for their analysis.
So it's kind of a natural consequence of empowering users and demanding speed.
Exactly. And it has huge benefits.
Yeah.
Agility, innovations, analysis that's really relevant to a specific team's needs. But the risks are also huge. Oh, data inconsistency is the big one. Multiple versions of the truth floating around in different spreadsheets, plus massive security or regulatory compliance gaps if sensitive data is living unprotected on someone's laptop.
Right, big risks.
So companies have realized, you just can't stop determined users from trying to solve their own problems. The better strategy is to govern it, not forbid it.
How do you govern something that's inherently shadowy?
Well, things like federated governance models, where central IT sets standards but departments have some autonomy.
Yeah.
Providing really good metadata management so users can at least see the official definitions even if they use their own tool. Lots of training on data best practices and tool usage. The idea is to harness the speed while minimizing the biggest risks.
Wow. That's quite a journey we've tracked. From, a simple ERP export button all the way to this complex two-modal adaptive architecture that's trying to balance governance, agility, and real-time needs. It really connects that original 1958 idea right up to today's AI-driven tools.
It does. And if you circle all the way back,
yeah,
the whole point of this entire complex structure, all this technology, it's just to serve the act of analysis itself.
Right.
And analysis fundamentally is just a systematic investigation.
Yeah.
Trying to understand something, explain it, maybe predict what it'll do next. We usually break that down into 3 types, right?
Okay.
Descriptive analysis, that's the what has happened, reporting the past. Predictive analysis, what will happen, forecasting the future. And then causal or prescriptive analysis, why did it happen? Or why will it happen, and what should we actually do about it?
Okay, describing, predicting, prescribing. Makes sense.
And BI systems have evolved to support that whole life cycle.
Yeah, we've seen that. From describing the past with the traditional DWH to predicting and prescribing the future using those data labs, the streaming analytics, the AI. Which leads to a pretty interesting final thought, actually. Well, we saw that augmented analytics and AI-driven BI are huge trends in the 2020s. Now, if analysis is fundamentally about breaking a problem down into its elements to understand it, what happens when the BI system itself starts doing more and more of the predictive and prescriptive breakdown for us?
Good question.
I mean, what does that shift potentially mean for the role of the human decision maker when the system might suggest the why and the what to do almost before the human has finished framing the what happened? That's definitely something worth mulling over.